It begins with silence, not explosions, not missiles, not troops on the ground, just silence somewhere above the Earth, thousands of miles beyond what we can see. America's military satellites stop talking. No warning, no signal, no explanation. And in that moment, the most powerful military on Earth is suddenly blind. The clock is already ticking. At first, it looks like a glitch. Operators inside us Space Command notice minor disruptions, data lag, telemetry inconsistencies, unusual packet behavior. Nothing catastrophic, not yet. But then GPS signals begin to drift, not fail, drift. A few meters off, then tens of meters, then hundreds. Missile guidance systems start reporting inconsistencies. Drone operators lose precision targeting. Naval fleets receive conflicting coordinates, still manageable, still deniable. But then everything changes. Multiple reconnaissance satellites go dark, infrared early warning systems begin returning corrupted data, heat signatures appear where there are none, and disappear where they should exist. To the systems that detect missile launches, the world starts to look wrong, and that's when panic quietly begins to spread. This isn't a physical attack. No debris, no explosions, no anti-satellite missiles lighting up the sky. This is something else, something quieter, something far more precise. A coordinated cyber intrusion targeting the digital backbone of America's orbital infrastructure. And there's one country on Earth with both the capability and strategic incentive to attempt it. China. Here's the twist. What if this isn't just disruption? What if it's control? Modern warfare doesn't start with bullets anymore. It starts with information. And the United States military depends on space more than any force in human history. Satellites handle everything: navigation through GPS, global communications, missile detection, battlefield awareness, drone operations, precision targeting. Take those away, or worse, manipulate them, and the entire system begins to fracture. This is the hidden vulnerability of overwhelming technological superiority. The more advanced you are, the more you rely on systems that can be turned against you. Now imagine this. Instead of destroying satellites, an adversary gains partial access, not full control. That would be too obvious, just enough to interfere, to mislead, to delay, to introduce doubt, and doubt in war is lethal. China has been investing in cyber warfare capabilities for decades, not just hacking for espionage, but for strategic battlefield shaping. Their doctrine emphasizes informationized warfare, the idea that control of data equals control of the fight. And in space, they've developed multiple tools: ground-based cyber units targeting satellite command systems, electronic warfare platforms capable of jamming signals, AI-assisted intrusion frameworks designed to exploit network vulnerabilities. But here's the key. They don't need to destroy American satellites. They just need to make them unreliable. Meanwhile, the United States still has unmatched military power: aircraft carriers, stealth bombers, fifth-generation fighters, global logistics networks. But all of it depends on coordination, timing, accuracy, communication. And that coordination flows through space. Now the battlefield begins to shift quietly, invisibly. U.S. forces in the Pacific start noticing anomalies. A naval strike group receives conflicting navigation data. Their position doesn't match satellite readings. Fighter jets preparing for a mission encounter targeting discrepancies. Coordinates don't align with real-world visuals. Drone feeds begin to lag, then freeze. Commanders are forced to make decisions with incomplete information. And that's where the real danger begins. Because hesitation in war creates opportunity, and opportunity is exactly what China needs. In the South China Sea, tensions escalate. South China Sea, Chinese naval forces begin aggressive maneuvers. Nothing overtly hostile, just enough to test boundaries. US commanders want to respond, but their situational awareness is compromised. Every decision now carries uncertainty. Is that ship really there? Is that radar signature real? Is that missile warning accurate? Or is it part of the intrusion? Then comes the first real crisis. An early warning system detects what appears to be a ballistic missile launch. Heat signature confirmed, trajectory calculated. But something feels off. Data from other satellites doesn't match. One system says launch confirmed. Another says false alarm. There's no time to verify. Decision window, minutes. This is the nightmare scenario. Because the system designed to prevent nuclear war is now unreliable, back in command centers, analysts scramble. They isolate compromised nodes, attempt to reroute communications, deploy backup systems. But redundancy only works if the backups are clean, and no one knows how deep the intrusion goes. Meanwhile, China escalates, but carefully. They avoid direct conflict instead. They exploit the confusion. Cyber attacks extend to regional bases, communications between allied forces degrade. Japan and South Korea report similar anomalies. Japan-South Korea coalition coordination begins to fracture. Each country sees a slightly different version of reality. And in war, a fragmented picture is as dangerous as blindness. Now comes the strategic dilemma. The United States has options, but none of them are clean. Option 1, escalate. Launch cyber counterattacks against China's space and communication infrastructure. Risk, uncontrolled digital escalation. Civilian systems could be affected. Financial networks, power grids, and once that line is crossed, it's hard to contain. Option 2, shift to kinetic response. Target Chinese assets directly, naval forces, missile sites, command centers, but with compromised targeting data, precision strikes become risky. Collateral damage increases, misidentification becomes likely, and one wrong strike could trigger full-scale war. Option 3, pull back, stabilize systems. Regain control, avoid escalation. But that creates a perception of weakness. And in geopolitics, perception shapes reality. The clock keeps ticking. On the battlefield, conditions worsen. Fuel logistics become harder to coordinate. Aircraft require precise navigation, now degraded. Long-range missile systems rely on accurate targeting data, now questionable. Troops on the ground must revert to older methods. Manual navigation, line-of-sight communication, human judgment. Ironically, the most advanced military in the world is forced to operate like it's decades in the past. And here's the contrast. China, anticipating this scenario, operates with redundancy built into its doctrine. Less reliance on satellite precision, more emphasis on regional control, shorter supply lines. In this specific environment, the technological gap begins to narrow, but there's a problem for China too. This strategy isn't sustainable forever. Cyber operations at this scale are difficult to maintain undetected. The longer it continues, the higher the chance of exposure. And once exposed, retaliation becomes inevitable. So now both sides face a ticking clock, not just of conflict, but of discovery. Back in U.S. command, a breakthrough emerges. Cyber teams identify a pattern. The intrusion isn't random. It's selective. Certain satellites are being targeted, others left untouched. Why? Because full shutdown would reveal the attack instantly. But controlled disruption creates confusion. And that realization changes everything. Because now it's not just about restoring systems, it's about predicting the enemy's intent. U.S. forces begin adapting. They cross-reference data from multiple sources. They prioritize human verification over automated systems. They reduce reliance on compromised networks, slower, less efficient, but more reliable. Gradually, clarity starts to return, not complete, but enough. And now the question becomes, what does the United States do with that clarity? A limited response is launch targeted cyber operations against Chinese military networks. Not full scale, just enough to signal capability, just enough to say, we see you. At the same time, physical forces reposition. Not aggressively, but deliberately, a show of presence. A message without words. China responds with restraint, because the goal was never full-scale war. It was advantage, positioning, testing the boundaries of modern conflict, and in that sense, the operation succeeds. Because it exposes something critical. The future of war isn't just fought with weapons, it's fought with systems, with code, with data, with perception. The United States isn't defeated, but it's shaken. Because for the first time, its dominance in space, its invisible advantage, has been challenged in a way that doesn't leave scars you can see. And that's the most unsettling part. No cities destroyed, no battlefields covered in smoke, just a realization that the next war might begin without anyone realizing it's already started. So now the question isn't who wins, it's this. If the systems we trust to prevent war can be manipulated, then how do you even know when war has begun? And more importantly, what would you do if you had to decide without knowing what's real?